1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Trent Bridge Live for the final time in this year's T20 Vitality Blast campaign. Yes, the Birmingham Bears are in town, and today Trent Bridge is supporting the Rainbow Laces campaign as well. Cricket is a game for everyone. Now, you'll see people around here, they've got T-shirts on, they've got bracelets on like ourselves, and we are supporting the Rainbow Laces campaign today here at Trent Bridge. And something else that we are supporting is the Blaze. Hopefully you could see them in the background potentially. They are literally going around the pitch showcasing that Charlotte Edwards trophy that they won just a couple of weeks ago. Now, literally the East Midlands side cruised to victory by 7 wickets in the final at Derby, and it was the two sisters, Catherine and Sarah Bryce, hitting half centuries. Now, they reached the final in that competition in 2023, and during the 2024 campaign they only lost 1 game as they secured their first trophy since moving here to Trent Bridge. So congratulations to the Blaze there, getting a fantastic round of applause from everybody here at Trent Bridge. But as I said at the start, the Birmingham Bears are in town here. Now the toss took place earlier on, and it was the Birmingham Bears that won that toss, and they have elected to have a bowl. So the Nottingham Outlaws openers will be making their way down the steps very, very shortly. But something else as well that we're celebrating here is John Pye. Just take a look at this.
A huge congratulations.
Okay, literally I just had a hairdresser's wardrobe just change me. I felt like I was in the theatre there. But yes, I'm wearing this special top, and that is because the Outlaws will be wearing this top as well. And that's basically celebrating 10 years of sponsorship from John Pye. Now, these shirts, not worn by me, worn by the lads, literally will be auctioned off after the game as well. So if you go to johnpyeauctions.co.uk, you will see everything there, and you can bid to win one of these shirts. But if you can't find anything like that, then follow the Trent Bridge social media channels and you'll be able to find all the information that you need to know there. But let's literally tell you about the Outlaws selected 11 for this fixture against the Birmingham Bears. Now, I just mentioned there that leading the way out the steps there will be Ben Martindale, making only his 4th appearance in this format. It is the left-handed opener, Ben Martindale. Joining him will obviously be the captain, Joe Clark. 79 for Joe Clark on Friday night against the Leicestershire Foxes. Making his first appearance of the season in the Blast, coming in at number 3, it is 21 Ben Slater. 26 Ben Slater, sorry. 154 runs so far with a high score of 51. It's the Outlaws number 30, Jack Haynes. And then next up we have Tom Moores. He's the Nottinghamshire Outlaws number 23, and behind the stumps he's taken 3 catches so far in this campaign. Matthew Montgomery is part of that middle order, and he only needs 51 runs to reach 500 runs in T20 cricket. 5 wickets from 78 balls bowled in the Blast this year. He wears number 8, and that is of course Lyndon James. Making his 6th appearance in T20 with a strike rate of over 192. That tells you what impact he has had with the bat. It is Liam Patterson-White. And then Kelvin Harrison, well, he bowls a bit of leg spin, and his best figures in this year's campaign are 2 for 19. Next up, it is Ollie Stone, former Bear, but he's very much an Outlaw. And he got voted the John Pye Player of the Month award for June, and he's only 6 away from 100 T20 career wickets. That is Ollie Stone. And then next up, 17 wickets in 8 matches at the T20 World Cup for Afghanistan. Hopefully he'll be out here. It is Fazel Haq Faruqi, and they are your 11 players for the Outlaws. Now, somebody that I mentioned there was Matthew Montgomery. He comes in at the middle order. Now, something that you won't know about Matthew Montgomery is that he made his international debut for Germany in 2023. He's played every game so far in this campaign. He's opened the bowling sometimes in the power play, and he's come in that middle order, and he's kept rotating the strike and got some runs that have been very crucial in that middle order. So that is Matthew Montgomery. Now, the Birmingham Bears are in town. They're top of the table, so let's take a look at that table, and you will see that they are there sitting proudly at the top on 14 points. Everybody knows the Outlaws. They're in second from bottom on 6 points. It's been a frustrating campaign, but 2 points today could make a massive difference as well. Lots of games going on in the North Group as well, so it's a very important day here. And as I said at the top, it's the last home game before the Knots finish the T20 Blast campaign on the road. Now, let's have a look at the head-to-head, because you'll see, well, pretty even, isn't it, really? 12 for Notts and 12 for the Birmingham Bears, with those two abandoned as well. So who's going to take it to 13 wins? It's very close. Outlaws need those 2 points. They want to finish on a high here at Trent Bridge, but the Birmingham Bears, well, they'll just be making look of trying to complete and get that qualification and really consolidate that top position. Now, we are literally a couple of minutes away from the thing. Do you like the top? Do you like the top, Hainsey? Do you like the top?
It's lovely.
Do you think you're playing for Forest?
It feels like, yeah, I wish I was.
Yeah, me too, mate, me too. Go well. So as you can see there, Jack Haynes, Ben Slater making their way out into the dugout. Peter Morse is in the dugout, so is Stephen Mullaney. The video's playing in the background. I think everybody is about ready for gameplay. So let's pass you over to your BBC Radio Nottingham commentary team for the first innings, where Ben Martindale and Joe Clark will be making their way down the steps.
Good afternoon, Adam. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trent Bridge. Sunny Trent Bridge at the moment. The weather forecast suggests there may be the possibility of an interruption or two, but let's just hope we can get this one done and dusted this afternoon, and that Notts can pick up a victory, a much needed victory. They did, as Adam suggested, really put back to ball on Friday evening. 175 for 5 after 17 overs. They were on course certainly for their first 200 or 200 plus score of this season's competition before the rains came, and sadly it was just 1 point, and it does mean that, well, Notts very much are now hanging by a thread with regards to getting out of the group. I can only find 2 examples of sides getting through the group with 15 points. One of them, Warwickshire, who come here this afternoon, or Birmingham Bears as they're now known, in 2021. They scraped in and got a quarter-final berth with 15 points, but that's the only time since they changed the qualifying criteria back in 2010. So for Notts, they've really got to top and tail their campaign. A little bit of symmetry. We all like a bit of symmetry in our lives. They lost the first 5 games in the group. Can they win the last 5? That would get them to 16 points, and I think Colin Frey give them a fighting chance of getting through.
Yeah, no easy feat though, is it? First of all, they've got the group leaders here coming to Trent Bridge today in Birmingham Bears, and then their remaining 4 games are all away from Trent Bridge. So any thought of home advantage over those last few games is gone. So that, you know, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it the very, very hard way. But I guess when you lose the first 5 games, we always knew that if qualification was at all going to be a possibility, then it was going to be very tough from there on in. But all they can do is keep chipping away, isn't it? And hopefully this afternoon against a very, very good Birmingham side, build on the cricket that we did manage to see, or you did manage to see, on Friday night here, when it looked as if they were on the way to setting a very, very good total. They'll be keen to do something similar here today, having been put into bat.
Yes, welcome back to Colin. Been on his hollybobs, and to celebrate it, Notts are playing in Well, the colour of another sports side, we're not too far away. Notts are in red today. It is to celebrate 10 years of their current shirt sponsors. Their normal colours, their company logo is normally red, so Notts are in vivid, vibrant red shirts, and the dark pants, I think they're black. If somebody told me they were dark blue, I wouldn't disbelieve them, but it looks from here as if they're black cricketing trousers, cricketing pants, whatever you want to call them, but it's the red shirts, the vibrant red, so no green and gold today. When the two batters turn round, Joe Clark is out there, and looks like Ben Slater has been promoted to open the order as well. We should be able to see their numbers. One thing that we might not be able to do with great clarity with the Birmingham side, in fact it is Ben Martindale, I beg his pardon. So Slater into the side, the one change from Friday. Ben Duckett away now with England, left-hander, and taking his place another left-hander, Ben Slater. George Garton's going to get us underway. Those numbers, they're not easy to see, are they?
They're very small, and it's a very jazzy shirt that Birmingham are wearing, isn't it? Sort of light blue predominantly, but lots of different shades of blue in various geometric shapes and patterns, and yellow numbers on the back, and small numbers at that.
A little bit of movement behind the arm, some vibrant fluorescent lime green stewards jackets there, just sitting down, and we're underway as George Garton bowls the first ball, and this is pushed into the offside. The Bears are in form, sad to report. They've won their last 6, they top the group. Whatever happens this afternoon, they'll still be top of the North group. They're looking well set to qualify for the quarter-finals. They've made it with ease over the last few years into the quarter-finals, but they've not reached finals day itself since 2017, when they actually lost to Notts in the final. Martindale on strike, and a play and a miss here, and it's taken low down by the keeper Chris Benjamin, who appears to be a last-minute selection. I was led to believe that Alex Davis, who not only is the keeper, is also top-order bat and the captain, was expected to play, but he's not playing, so Danny Briggs has taken over the Bears captaincy. Chris Benjamin's come into the side keeping wicket. Moeen Ali plays his first game of the year in some spectacular footwear, which we'll comment on in a moment, as Martindale pulls it out onto the leg side, and we're underway. And there's Jacob Bethel doing the fielding, and Notts have their first run on the board
in bright sunshine, but as soon as they've run that, the cloud has come across. Now this cloud has looked very threatening for the last hour or so as we've been watching it on the horizon approaching from the west. Having said that, as it's got closer and closer, it's looked a little bit less threatening. So the closer it's got, the better it's looked, and a bit of hope that we might get away with it altogether.
The threat of rain has maybe persuaded one or two of you just to stay at home and join us on BBC Radio Nottingham's FM frequencies. A lot of people will also be watching the club's live stream. Again, just a final reminder, if you want to follow the 80s 90s mixtape with Dean Jackson, you need to retune to DAB Digital Radio or Freeview 720. Here's Garton, halfway through the first over of the match, down the leg side. Joe Clark, who was in scintillating form on Friday evening till he got himself out, watches this one go by, down the leg side for a wide. He stood there on Friday evening, immaculately played cricket shots of the highest order all around the wicket, slapping the ball for 4s and 6s with gay abandon. Got to 79 from 41 balls, and then tried almost a reverse scoop, and no real surprise when he missed it and got bowled. Just play properly, Joe. Too good to get out like that. Next ball is a low full toss, work to mid-wicket, and there's no run. Danny Briggs is skippering the Bears, maybe even for the first time. Does the fielding, 2 with Outlaws.
Decent start by Garton for Birmingham.
Former Sussex man, has played a couple of times for England, but that was back in 2022. Comes in again, slightly angled approach, left arm quick, and there's a boundary for Joe Clark, and it certainly wasn't meant to go there. It's a good sign of things to come. If you play a false shot and get a boundary, thickish outside edge, it flew where maybe 3rd or 4th slip would have been. Nobody down at third man. Clark has a boundary, and although it's the early stages and they're just looking to get a foothold, it's always nice to get that first one away to the ropes.
Bit of width, too much width from Garton, as you say. It's not exactly what Joe Clark meant, but he'll take it, flying through the gap.
Trent Bridge actually looking a picture right now with the sun on it. Now there's an LBW shout, might have pitched outside leg, and it runs out onto the offside. Jacob Lintott does the fielding. End of the over, 6 runs from it. Notts Outlaws put into bat by the Birmingham Bears. The Notts side then Joe Clark, Ben Martindale, Ben Slater, who comes in for Ben Duckett, Jack Haynes, Tom Moores, Matt Montgomery, Lyndon James, Liam Patterson-White, Calvin Harrison, Ollie Stone, and Fazal Haq Faruqi, who technically made his debut for Notts on Friday evening but didn't get on the field. We're looking forward to seeing him have a go. One man who made his debut for the Bears on Friday evening when they beat Yorkshire up at Headingley is the 22-year-old New Zealander Zach Fuchs, and he's going to bowl the second over here.
Yeah, he's going to be bowling from the Radcliffe Road end. One or two people, more than one or two, plenty of people coming into the ground still and taking their seats all around Trent Bridge.
It's from Christchurch. He's going round the wicket to the left-handed Martindale, who just tucks this off his hip for a single on the leg side. The Bears have been struck by injury to their 2 overseas Pakistan internationals, Hassan Ali and Amir Jamal. So this has been a little bit of a late call-up for Zach Fuchs. Obviously with the World Cup having only recently finished, there's a lot of players that understandably headed back to their home countries for a little bit of a rest, and Bears, I think, have scoured the globe before finding this young talent. That's a slower ball, it just bibbles and bobbles his way through past Clark and goes to the keeper. He's a proper all-rounder, Fuchs, and understand he came in on Friday evening, and his very first ball in English domestic T20 cricket, he smashed for a 6 and it hit the roof of the football stand at Headingley. A mighty blow. Hello England, I'm here. Here he comes. Fuchs in again, and Clark has had a drive at that one, a loose one outside the off stump, and Benjamin has dived a long way. It was very, very close to being a wide, I think, Colin.
Yeah, it swung away, I think, as well, didn't it? And Benjamin had to dive a long way across, almost in front of first slip by the time he took it.
Speaking of Yorkshire, a couple of former Yorkshire players are umpiring. Peter Hartley is at the far end. He's currently standing at point for reasons best known to himself, and at this end Simon Widdop. Fuchs bowls, and this is cut to backward point, and there's just a single. Simon Widdop is playing just his umpiring rather just his 3rd T20 match. His 2nd was yesterday. He did Leicestershire Derbyshire, a match that Samit Patel starred in to get the Falcons to the win, and his first one was on Friday evening when he did Durham Worcestershire. So he's
busy weekend.
Yeah, he's just made the first class list this season, and now he's getting his first blast games, and he's had 3 in a row. Martindale can't get this away. He's been kept a little quiet like he was on Friday evening, Ben Martindale. 2 from 5 balls. He only made 1 on Friday, then got out. The other umpire in comparison is nearing a major landmark. One of our senior officials, Peter Hartley. This is his 197th match in the T20 Blast as an umpire. Very fine bowler for Yorkshire through the 90s. Fuchs in to Martindale. He's turned this round the corner, and there'll just be a single, but that's a really good over from Fuchs to begin with. 3 from it. Notts a 9 without loss after 2 overs.
I think he just took a bit of pace off that last ball as well, and Martindale almost had to wait for it to come onto him before steering it around the corner as he did, and it was noticeable. His slower ball earlier in the over, you mentioned it, it sort of bobbled its way all the way through to the wicketkeeper in the end. It must have bounced 3 or 4 times before it got through to Chris Benjamin. But a good first over.
Yes, indeed. Garton's going to get another one. Just before play started, just before Adam Hassel handed over to us here at Trent Bridge, we saw a very nice ceremonial lap of honour from the Blaze team, the women's team that are based here at Trent Bridge. As Garton starts the third over, Martindale backs away and backed away too far, couldn't get anything on it. And it goes through to the keeper. The Blaze winning the Charlotte Edwards Cup a couple of weekends ago. That's the women's T20 competition. And very nice to see them getting a good round of applause for those that are here inside Trent Bridge. Final home game for the Outlaws, as Colin said at the start. 4 away matches after this one, as Martindale is bowled, is yorked. Lovely bit of bowling from Garton, and poor old Ben Martindale just not got a start yet. He made 16 in his first appearance, and the last couple of matches 1 and now 3. He's a very, very good player, and I hope he'll get lots of opportunities, but he's been undone there by a very experienced bowler, George Garton. He's had a number of seasons with Sussex. Like I said, he has played for England in this format, and he's just done him there with a good pacey delivery that's knocked back off stump.
Yeah, good Yorker, but pacey Yorker, as you say. I think his very first ball of the match was also a Yorker that Martindale had to sort of fend off, and this time he's unable to do so, and has to trudge back to the pavilion, which brings Ben Slater to the crease. It's not the greatest of power play starts for Notts, but could be worse. It could be Durham. Just started against Northamptonshire. 0 for 2 after the first 10 balls.
Oh dear, that's a bit messy. Here's Ben Slater. Welcome back to T20 cricket, Ben Slater. He's only made 4 appearances for Notts in this competition, all back in 2021. He's only played 15 times in all, and he's only got 1 half century, and that was back in 2012 when he played a handful of games for Southern Rocks in Zimbabwe. He's understandably primarily a county championship player, although he's got a fine record in the 50 over game as well, but he's really had to wait for another opportunity in the T20 competition. But one left-handed Ben has departed, and here's another left-handed Ben, and Garton bowls, and this is cut out into the offside, and he's gone first ball. Garton's on a hat-trick. Couldn't have hit it any better, Ben Slater. Shades of Friday evening, actually, when Tom Moores came to the crease and he got caught on the rope first ball. Garton's on a hat-trick. It was a really good catch by a fellow they called the Mouse for understandable reasons, Dan Mousley. A deep backward point, went very quickly to him, and Garton's got 2 in 2.
Certainly not what Ben Slater would have wanted. I thought he'd just got it away. I thought it was flying away to the boundary, but got a TV screen next to us, and Mousley was right behind it. He juggled it, did Mousley. It wasn't a clean take, and I thought he might just spill it completely, but as he was diving and taking the catch, or sort of falling over and taking the catch, it bobbled out of his hands, and he managed to just reset and readjust and grab it at the second attempt. And it's a first baller for Ben Slater, and as you say, it's a hat-trick ball for Garton.
It is indeed. Jack Haynes is the new man. One of the Worcestershire crowd that came from New Road in the close season. He's doing okay in this season's competition. None of the Notts batters faring particularly well. Clark's knock on Friday evening makes his figures look a little better, but Jack Haynes, second most runs, 154 at just under 20 apiece, 1 half century. It's more often than not got starts and then got himself out. Each of the last 2 matches he's made 18 at a little better than a run a ball and then got out. His immediate concern here is to face the hat-trick ball. Garton round the wicket, bowls, and he does survive it. There's only been 2 hat-tricks against Notts in T20 cricket. Dominic Cork in the very first season of the competition when he was playing for Lancashire, and Sean Tate, the Australian, he was playing for Essex in a quarter-final here around about 2012, 2013, something like that. And Notts have never had a hat-trick in this competition. 2 balls left in what's been a brilliant over so far for the Bears. Garton bowls, and Haynes runs it to Danny Briggs at mid-wicket, and there's no run. So could it be a double wicket maiden? First to go, Ben Martindale. He's bowled for 3, and then Ben Slater cutting uppishly to deep backward point, right on the fence. Catch at the second time of asking from Mousley. There's Garton bowls, and Haynes can't get it away. double wicket maiden in this form of the game. Pretty much as rare, what's the saying, rare as hen's teeth, something of that order. 9 for 2 after 3 overs. Not exactly the start that Notts were after when they were put into bat by Danny Briggs. Notts in their red have got work to do.
Well, goes without saying, it's an outstanding over. I mean, in this, like you say, in this form of cricket, to get that at any stage is pretty extraordinary. To get it within the power play as well, it's a fabulous effort from Garton. And the man who took one of those catches, or took the catch that we've seen so far, is coming into the attack with a ball in his hand for Birmingham.
Yeah, Dan Mousley. Ball's right arm off spin, so pace off the ball. Neck and neck meetings between this pair over the years. Outlaws 12 wins, and the Bears in all their various guises. Of course, they were Warwickshire Bears a number of years ago. They changed to Birmingham Bears for this competition. They've also won 12. Neck and neck, 12 wins apiece. Here's Mousley bowling to Clark, strikes him on the pad, but it would have gone down the leg side. Really looked to push that one through. Last 7 meetings, they'll tell a bit of a tale, because the Bears have won 5 of them and Notts only 2. Mousley to Joe Clark, keeping him quiet, and now they've got him. It's a good catch standing up from Benjamin, and Notts lose their top scorer and their captain Joe Clark, caught behind an inside edge through to the keeper, and Notts well, they're stuck in treacle at the moment. They were 9 for none, they're now 9 for 3. Joe Clark out for 5, having faced 8 deliveries, caught Benjamin, the wicketkeeper, from the bowling of Mousley. And literally everything that could go wrong for Notts, and has gone wrong for Notts this season, is reoccurring again here. 9 for 3.
Yeah, it's a disaster for Notts, especially as you mentioned earlier, Dave, that the form that Joe Clark was in just a couple of nights ago here against Leicestershire, when he was picking his shots and sticking it to all parts. To lose him on the back of that double wicket maiden in the previous over. And in comes Matthew Montgomery to join Jack Haynes, and to say these two have got some rebuilding to do is an understatement at 9 for 3.
The other thing with Clark is he can clear the ropes at will. You know, take Alex Hales out, take Ben Duckett out. Obviously Notts have lost in the last 2 or 3 years the likes of Dan Christian, Stephen Mullaney, 1 or 2 others. They've had overseas players as well who can clear the ropes. They've not got, comparatively speaking, that many 6 hitters in the side anymore. There's Mousley, then new man is Matthew Montgomery, and he's run this to backward point, and Notts can get off 9 and move to 10 with that single. It's interesting that they've pushed Matthew Montgomery in ahead of Tom Moores, and they've got 2 right-handers out there, because I know with this sort of lineup they're like right-hander, left-hander. This one's chipped uppishly, and that for a moment would have been heart in mouth time for Jack Haynes. I think fell just short of Sam Hain at mid-off. Mousley in again. That's a nice looking shot from Haynes. He's only going to get a single. Moeen Ali, I expect we'll see him bowling before too long, does the fielding. And Haynes, like Montgomery's, off the mark as well. 11 for 3.
You're not impressed with his footwear, are you? I know we keep hinting at this.
Not really come back to it, and he's going to get the chance to stride forward. It's the end of the over, 12 for 3. Yeah, Moeen Ali is he's got some really bright, vivid steward jacket type fluorescent boots on, but different colours. One's lime greeny and one's vibrant orangey, and I don't know. Did he bring the left of one pair and the right of the other? He's never struck me as a man, Moeen Ali, who wants to make a fashion statement, but then again, you look at his footwear today and maybe I've got it all wrong over these years.
Well, he's part of a team that have made a really good start here, as we've got bright sunshine again now, and I'm pleased to say, in the direction the weather's coming from, out to the west, blue sky on the way as well.
Very nice indeed. Here's Zach Fuchs from the Stuart Broad end, the old pavilion end to you and me, and his first ball played by Montgomery on the leg side. Matthew Montgomery He's really developed his bowling in this season's competition. I think he's bowled in every game so far, or every time that Notts have been in the field. Could do with him chipping in with his primary role as a middle order batter here. Gets a single, works this away to leg. Last year, you may remember, I know Colin Fray certainly remembers last year's game. It got off to an explosive start after the interval when Shaheen Shah Afridi bowled an over that finished, 7 for 4. The Bears, 5 wides from the first ball. Here's Fuchs in, and this will be cut into the offside. Protection out there. Bethel again doing the fielding. A single. Was it 7 for 4 at the end of that first over?
I think you're right, yep, 7 for 4.
And not still lost.
Yeah, it was quite the start to the innings. Can't quite believe that Notts lost from there, but it was an extraordinary few balls of cricket.
Fuchs in and strikes Montgomery on the pad. He's given. He was a long way down the track there, Matthew Montgomery. He advanced towards Zach Fuchs to work it to mid-wicket. Careful how I pronounce that. To work it to mid-wicket, and has been struck on the pad. It was a real bellowed roar, as you might have heard from the bowler, and umpire Hartley had a good long look at it and then raised the finger. I was a little surprised there. I thought he might have got the benefit of the doubt because it was a long way forward, but it's another one that's gone. Matthew Montgomery out to Fuchs for 3, Notts a 14 for 4, and although a few more people have come inside Trent Bridge, it's almost a deathly silence.
Yeah, I mean, this is a disaster for Notts. Like you, I'm surprised. I don't think you see that many LBWs given when a batsman is that far down the wicket, and I just thought that might save him because he was so far forward, but no, Peter Hartley decided that ball was going straight for the stumps, and it's 14 for 4, and they've got 8 balls left of the power play. Tom Moores is the new batsman, and they're in disarray here, Notts, aren't they?
Yeah.
This is it's almost feels like it's a summation of the T20 campaign so far.
What I can say for Tom Moores is nobody stood on the deep mid-wicket boundary, which is where he beautifully hit his first shot too on Friday night, when there was a fielder there. Another little bit of oomph on it and it would have gone for 6, but hit it straight down the fielder's throat. Here we go then, Fuchs into Tom Moores, and he pushes this in the offside. And there's no run. 14 for 4. Joe Clark is still the top scorer. He made 5. Ben Martindale 3. Ben Slater a first ball duck. And now Matthew Montgomery 3. Still to come. Lyndon James, Liam Patterson-White, Calvin Harrison. So there is a bit to come. Ollie Stone's been in fine form in the Championship. And Fazal Haq Faruqi will bring up the rear, and Moores gets a single. He's off the mark. So at the end of the 5th over, Notts a 15 for 4 with a couple of wickets to Garton, 1 to Mousley and 1 to Zach Fuchs. And my favourite stats that I managed to squeeze in on Friday evening, Colin, before the rain came, was that Fazal Haq Faruqi, playing his 85th T20 game, has got a highest score of 4 in this competition. So if it comes down to him at the end, Notts could be in trouble. But in the meantime, they're 15 for 4. Somebody else before Fazal Haq Faruqi gets a go needs to get some runs. To talk you through it with Colin Fray.
Thanks, Dave. Well, I've waited a long time to see some T20 cricket this summer. I've got to be honest, the first 5 overs of it have not been brilliant. From a Nottinghamshire perspective, they've been superb from Birmingham's point of view. 15 for 4. And Dan Mousley is the man who's going to continue from the Radcliffe Road end, and again, wicketkeeper standing up, unable to take this one cleanly. Benjamin, as it goes through Tom Moores.
Is there a link to the red, do you think?
I couldn't possibly comment. Here's Mousley around the wicket again to Moores, who's defending this one away out onto the offside, and there's no run again. 15 for 4 with 4 balls to come in the power play. There's Mousley once more, getting through this over quickly as well, nudged off his pads out towards mid-wicket for a trotted single for Tom Moores. 16 for 4. Martindale yorked by Garton for 3. Ben Slater, next ball, caught on the boundary by Mousley without scoring. Joe Clark caught behind. This one is down the leg side but wrapping the batsman on the pads. Jack Haynes, no run. Bowler does his own fielding. And then Montgomery, LBW to Fuchs in the last over. 16 for 4. Mousley is in again. This is played slightly uppishly by Haynes, but it bounces well in front of the man at cover. And there's no run. Mousley in again to Haynes, and this time he's played it straight to the man at point. And there's no run, and that's the end of the power play. And at the end of the power play, Notts are 16 for 4. And as power plays go, I mean, I was mentioning Durham a little bit earlier and saying it could be worse. I haven't checked the Durham score lately, but I'm fairly sure they might be better than 15 for 4 at the end of the power play.
I don't know if Carroll's the only one, but Carroll sent a message. Dave, can you please tell us what's happened to Alex Hales? Is he injured? No, he was only contracted, Carroll, for the first 8 games this year, and he's away playing in the Sri Lanka Premier League. There you are, you can make of that whatever you want, but he's in Sri Lanka enjoying his cricket at the moment, and it's maybe a little bit warmer than West Bridgford. Danny
Briggs has come on from the pavilion end, and this first one is nudged away off his pads by Moores, who was looking for 2, but I don't think it was ever on, as Jacob Bethel came racing in from the rope to do the fielding. So just 1, and the total on to 17 for 4. Quick check of Durham. Well, it's very similar with Notts. They're 11 for 3.
Dear, oh dear.
No, they're not quite at the end of their power play yet. The next one is cut away by Haynes, but it's good fielding. It's cover and no run. Another dot ball for Birmingham. Briggs in again, and this is played straight back to the bowler, and it's another dot ball for Birmingham.
Just a 52-year-old's taking exception of the use of the word power play. 16 for 4 a power play, he says.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a very fair point. It is if you're the fielding side, I suppose. Next one is scooped around to deep backward square for another single to Haynes. Both batsmen now on 3. Tom Moores to face Briggs. Stroked out towards cover, straight to the man at cover, all along the ground. Another dot ball with Briggs and Mousley in the attack. They're also getting through these overs very quickly, Birmingham. The last ball of this one, which Moores tries to hammer away, plays it round towards the mid-wicket area, but there is a man there as well, so it's just another single to end the over. It's an over at least from a Notts point of view without a wicket falling in it, but more frustration as they're unable to really make the scoreboard tick over at any great rate of knots.
Just doing their level best in the DJ booth, just to try and crank up and generate a little bit of atmosphere here. It's not going to get any easier because Jake Lintott coming into the attack. He's one of those rare bowlers. He's a spinner. He bowls slow left arm, but it's wrist spin. It's very unusual, bringing it out the back of the hand. It's an awkward customer to face.
19 for 4, 7 overs gone. Lintott, oh, that's a high full toss, and it's swiped away square on the offside out to the point boundary. But again, Moores finds the fielder. He's just hit his bat in frustration with his batting glove. Not happy to have missed out on that one, because that was very much a loosener from Lintott. Got away with it. And the total ticks on to 20. Lintott, left arm over the wicket, cut away by Haynes this time. Towards the point boundary, and again finding the fielder.
That one turned quite significantly, didn't it? Came into the right-hander, which is what he's trying to do.
Here's Lintott once more. And swiped again. I'm not sure exactly that's where Tom Moores meant that to go. It's ended up out at mid-on. He was aiming offside. And runs in from long on to do the fielding, and Moores has gone through for another single. There's Lintott once more into Haynes, and Haynes has to defend this one back down the pitch. Very circumspectly played by Haynes. Fairly obvious to say these two have a rebuild job to do for Notts. So Lintott is in again, and that's a reverse sweep attempt by Haynes, and he gets not much on it, if anything on it, and it's fielded by Moeen Ali, who'd come in at slip and had to go behind the wicket-keeper standing up to Lintott to do the fielding, and it ends up being a dot ball. So having played the previous ball very circumspectly, a reverse sweep attempt from Haynes. What's he going to do with this one? Play it off the back foot out towards the point boundary for a single. End of the over, end of another one. 23 for 4 runs off it. And 8 down already, 8 overs down already, 4 wickets down.
Yeah, the Bears have got Notts exactly where they'd want them at the moment, because these two know that the natural thing to do, what's needed for the team right now, is a little bit of a partnership through these middle overs, but they also know only 23 runs on the board, as you say, from 8 overs. They've also got to get on with it a little bit. It's all well and good normally just to ease it through to the 17th, 18th over, and then everybody have a go. But at this rate, they're going to only have about 50 or 60 on the board.
Haynes dabs this one from Briggs, who's continuing from the pavilion end. Behind the wicket for another single. Birmingham very happy to just have Notts taking singles at the moment. Here's Briggs again into Moores, who tries to play this away onto the leg side, but he's wrapped on the pad. It's going down leg side, so there's no run. Briggs again into Moores, who tries to sweep this one up straight to the man who's waiting on the edge of the circle to take the catch, and it's a dolly for Sam Hain. It's top edge by Moores, right up in the air. It just loops up to Hain, and it's another wicket. Moores gone for 6, and Notts are 24 for 5.
Oh dear, oh dear. You can't go piling in on Tom Moores really for trying to play that shot, trying to get it away. As I said, you're in a no-win situation when you're 20 for 4 with the overs rapidly running out. You've got to try and do something, and these two bowlers at the moment, Lintott and Briggs, are getting a lot of purchase on the ball. There's a lot of turn out there, there's a lot of bounce. They're all confident. They've come into this game on the back of 6 straight wins, the Bears. They top the table by 3 points. Very, very good side. Tom Moores there, just trying something a little bit different. Didn't quite execute it properly. They got the sweep in nicely. There was an opportunity to score runs. There was just one man that he could pick out, and he's hit it straight to him, Sam Hain. And it's 24 for 5, and you struggle there really to see how Notts can get themselves out of this. It's going to need something that we haven't yet seen from the likes of Jack Haynes, Lyndon James, Liam Patterson-White to get Notts competitive. But it looks a belter of a batting wicket, and if Notts had got 160, you'd say, well, is that a par score on there?
Here's Briggs to continue to the new batsman, who's Lyndon James, who's defending this one away out onto the offside, and there's no run. Briggs again into James, who's got this between the bowler and cover, and jogs through for a single to get off the mark as it's fielded out at long off. Brings Haynes back onto strike. He's on 6, the joint top scorer so far. And he's facing Briggs, and he becomes the top scorer so far as he too strokes this one up towards long off for a single. That's the end of that over as well. There were 2 runs off that, I beg your pardon, 3 runs off that one, plus the wicket. 26 for 5. And we're almost halfway through Nottinghamshire's allocated overs as well. 9 overs have been bowled, there are 11 to come. Haynes has 7, James is on 1. And even a miraculous batting performance over the next 11 overs is, as you say, Dave, only going to get Notts to somewhere near what you might consider par. And that's if it's miraculous over the next few overs.
I'll tell you what, we'll blame it on the boogie.
We'll blame it on something. Or the sunshine, which at least we have. Here's Lintott, and this is slightly down the leg side, and it's swept away by Haynes, sort of helped on its way down the leg side, fielded it deep backward square, and there is another single. Just to refer you back to the Durham situation, Notts were worse than Durham at the end of their power play, I can confirm. It's not great for Durham, 21 for 3. And it's worse for Notts as Lintott beats Lyndon James, and it goes through to the wicket keeper, who's standing up again with his helmet on. Bright yellow helmet for Chris Benjamin behind the stumps. Moeen Ali in at first slip, just behind him. Lintott is in again, and this is driven hard back down the pitch past the bowler, but again it'll only be a single for James as Dan Mousley runs around to field. So 28 for 5, and in 3 balls time we're halfway through the innings. Here's Lintott again into Haynes. This is outside the off stump and is rather swiped at and swatted away again with no real pace or power, perhaps a bit of a toe end on the bat, given the way Haynes was looking at it after he'd hit it. Get another single, and here's Lintott, and James is backing away from this one before stroking it out square on the offside for another 1 to the total.
Tough going, isn't it?
30 for 5. Last ball of the 10th over. It's Jack Haynes on strike to face it, and he's just nudged it off his pads to square leg. And they'll take another single. End of the over by Notts standards. So far, it's a decent over. Got 5 runs from it, all of them in singles. They didn't lose another wicket, but it has been a tale of woe so far. Martindale 3, Joe Clark 5, Ben Slater 0, Matt Montgomery 3, Tom Moores 6 are the men out, and Notts halfway through their innings with Haynes on 10 and James on 3 are 31 for 5. We need a miracle. Here's Dave Bracegirdle.
I wonder if, Colin, you've ever described 5 overs in T20 cricket before without a boundary? Because that's what's happened. We've only had one boundary
yeah,
in the innings, and that was Joe Clark early on as Haynes goes down on one knee and laps this away on the leg side. Single takes, what's happened out there? Took my eye off it, but was there a coming together out there? I don't know. Don't know what happened, but everybody apologising to everybody. 2 fielders might have run into each other. I was just averting my gaze back towards the scoreboard to tell you it's 32 for 5. Briggs bowls, and Lyndon James has denied a run here, clipping it to mid-wicket. Well, the Bears have certainly shown their claws here in Nottingham this afternoon. 5 wickets in the first 10 overs, 4 in the power play, as Lyndon James plays this out on the leg side. Jacob Bethel doing the fielding this time without clattering into Dan Mousley, and the 2 shake hands.
I'm reminded that the boundary was a false shot as well from Clark, wasn't it?
It was, yes. It was the edge.
Flew off the edge.
Yeah. Next delivery down on one knee is paddled by Haynes. I think there was some bat involved. There was. So Jack Haynes on to 12, and that makes him comfortably the highest scorer in the innings. And this partnership is worth 10. It's been absolute horror show from Notts as Lyndon James mistimes this, trying to cut it out into the offside. 34 for 5. Bears won the game at Edgbaston. little early on in the piece as this one turns away from Lyndon James and through into the gloves of Benjamin. They've just not allowed Notts to settle, and they're absolutely rattling through their overs as well, this pair. Well, the three spinners, Mousley, Lintott and Briggs. We've not even seen Moeen Ali bowling. I don't know if that's well, I don't know why it is. I mean, he bowled for England in the World Cup, whether they're saving him a little bit, whether he's maybe got a bit of a tweak somewhere along the line, whether he's playing just as a batter, it seems at the moment, but maybe they just don't need him.
To say they don't need him at the moment, do they? The way it's going, we're quite happy with these. As you say, the three of them are just rattling through the overs.
34 for 5 after 11. Lintott in again. This one's cut away nicely by Jack Haynes. There's protection out there. Only a single. 35 for 5. Briggs is through 3 overs. 1 for 9. And this is Lintott's 3rd over. He's 9 for 10. Comes in and just turn to leg. Get a single. 36 for 5. Qualified teacher Jake Lintott, Taunton born. He was offered an opportunity after some strong form in club cricket down in the West Country. Chaps with Gloucestershire a decade or so ago, and this one's up in the air and he's got a wicket. Jack Haynes trying to get after Lintott. That just skewed up off the outside edge, and an absolute dolly of a catch at short third. Danny Briggs gobbles it up, and not entirely sure how many times Briggs has skippered in his career before today. Not very often, but he'll be saying this is an absolute doddle, because Notts Outlaws are 36 for 6 after Briggs won the toss, and that's Notts to bat first. Here comes Liam Patterson-White.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the scoreboard pressure, if you like, of running out of overs, but there's Haynes just trying to get on with it. Really, he was almost down on one knee as he tried to stroke this one away, and then just a little bit of turn from Lintott. It's ended up finding the edge, and it just looped up, dollied up again, just as it did from Tom Moores to Sam Hain a few overs ago. But straight this time to Briggs, and again it's the simplest of simple catches. It's another wicket. It's 36 for 6.
Halfway through the 12th over, Lintott's first scalp. He's 1 for 11. Wicket for Briggs, wicket for Mousley, wicket for Fuchs, and a couple for George Garton there, sharing out the humiliation at the moment. And that's what it is, 36 for 6. Bad day at the office for the Outlaws as Liam Patterson-White is underway. First ball driving into the offside. Liam had to wait quite a time before making his T20 debut for Notts. Came in for the Lancashire game, the 5th game of this season's competition, and showed what he can do. 44 not out, and on Friday he was 26 not out, so yet to be dismissed in this season's competition. Perhaps shouldn't say that. Lyndon James, he gets in a stride. He's a big tall man, Lyndon James, and pushes this out into the offside with a flourish, gets the single. 38 for 6. Calvin Harrison is due in next at number 9, then Ollie Stone and Fazal Haq Faruqi. They're very sombre Notts dugout at the far side of the ground at the moment as Lintott bowls Patterson-White. Won't want to get out to a fellow spinner. Drives it out into the offside to Jacob Bethel. And it's 39 for 6 after 12 here at Trent Bridge. You're listening to T20 Blast Cricket. It's been a really poor season for Notts in this competition, losing their first 5 matches, but the last 4 games have brought points. 2 wins and 2 matches rained off, just giving that little bit of belief that with a strong finish perhaps they can challenge those quarter-final positions. But in truth, the performances have been more like this than the side we've seen over the years that have generally, more often than not, got out of the group. More slow stuff. It's going to be Jacob Bethel. I first saw play as a 13 or 14-year-old. He is the son of English parents, but was born and brought up in Barbados. Former Notts all-rounder Franklin Stevenson got hold of him at his cricket academy. Played with from the Barbados junior sides. Had many tours of the UK before then moving to board at rugby school, and from there Warwickshire nabbed him as soon as he was able. Slow left arm spinner, balls now, and Liam Patterson-White will drive this down the ground. Patterson-White 3 from 3. Bethel with, looks like, very strongly bleached hair. Been in good form this season in all formats. Hugely talented youngster. Comes in now to bowl to Lyndon James, who's on 6. Pushes this straight to extra cover. There's no run there. Just not been able to get into their stride at all, and lack of boundaries. Lyndon James plays a reverse. Not normally his go-to shot, but gets a single. 41 for 6. Just wonder if Patterson-White will try and take down Bethel. He's the 4th spinner to be introduced, maybe even 5th in ranking after Moeen Ali. Oh, and he speared this down the leg side. That's a welcome wide. Push that through deliberately. I just wonder if there was some sort of signal there, if they anticipated that Patterson-White was going to try and charge him, but ended up in being just a very ugly delivery that brings 1 to the Notts total. 42 for 6. Bethel in the sky blue of the Bears, then has to field off his own bowling, and the ball slips from his grasp, but no chance of a single.
Uneventful over again, isn't it, so far?
7 ball over with the wide, and Patterson-White this time does get it beyond the bowler's reach to get another single. He's 4 from 5 now. 43 for 6. Notts were in a mess from the early stages. They lost 3 wickets with the score on 9. Martindale and Slater and Clark all back. Not got any better since then. Lyndon James will push this to mid-wicket now then. Well, as he played that, I just wondered if there might just be the opportunity to scamper a quick 2. I know the last thing you want is a run out, but if ever they were going to run 2 to this deep set field, that would have been it. But it's the end of the over, and once again very little damage done to the Bears, who are in charge. And here is Moeen Ali. 44 for 6 is the score, and meanwhile just a little bit of enthusiasm in the crowd as dance cam, the camera picks out 1 or 2 people, and those youngsters getting into the spirit of things. That is one good thing we can say about this afternoon. There's a decent number of youngsters inside the ground, and those that are here, I would imagine most of them will have heard of the name of Moeen Ali.
Yeah, so now they bring the England bowler on. 44 for 6 after 13. Been getting the record books out for the wrong reasons. More in a second.
There's Ali then. Off spinner, bowls, and Lyndon James gets a single.
Notts' lowest totals in T20. 91 is the answer. 91 was their lowest in 2006. In fact, it's happened twice, and both times against Lancashire. 2006 and a couple of years ago.
Ali bowls, the left-handed Patterson-White defends, whereas the lowest against them is the 63 that the Birmingham Bears got 2 years ago at Edgbaston. Not absolutely skittled through them. Patterson-White tries to launch this towards the Fox Road stand, but there wasn't enough pace on it. I think he was already through the shot before the ball bounced and then struck him in the chest. It already swished merrily away. So Moeen Ali's dropped to a nice line of length here, and this time Patterson-White does get hold of it now then. Will this go for 6? No, it won't. There's a fielder on the rope, and Liam Patterson-White with the right intent, but unfortunately he's hit it straight down the throat of Mousley, who gets his 2nd catch of the afternoon. And LPW has gone now for 4, and Moeen Ali's got his 1st wicket, not to 45 for 7. Just remind us again, Colin, what was that lowest score?
Yeah, it was 91. Seems a long way off just at the moment. I mean, you can't really blame Liam Patterson-White for trying to get something going, can you? But I thought it was interesting that he'd almost signalled his intent with the previous ball to Moeen Ali. Right, I'm going to start to take you on. and then having missed that shot, as you say, with a bit of a swish, having played through it too early, he's kind of signalled to Moeen Ali that's what he's going to do, which kind of tells the bowler everything, I suppose, that a bowler of his standard needs to know. And yes, he did get him away, but never got enough on it. And again, Mousley didn't have to move, he was just stood underneath it waiting for it to come down. Safe pair of hands again.
If you're just joining us, folks, certainly whilst the rain's not falling, might be a nice afternoon just to go and have a little walk and a little bit of fresh air and exercise. It's been a horror show from the Outlaws. They're 45 for 7. They were stuck into bat, and I'm afraid they've not yet started their batting effort really, because they've been skittled to, well, the brink of almost total humiliation here at 45 for 7 by this very talented Bears side. Last ball was defended by Calvin Harrison. Now he gets a single onto the leg side out to Mousley again, who's keeping himself busy in the field. 14 overs have gone. That single takes it to 46 for 7. Jack Haynes the top scorer with 13. Liam Patterson wide out for 6 in that over. Joe Clark 5. A couple of 3s with Matthew Montgomery and Ben Martindale. Ben Slater, he went first ball. 46 for 7. Still 6 overs to go. As Danny Briggs comes on to bowl his final over. Run a ball 36. Well, that would only get Notts to 82. So you've got to think they've got to try and push for some runs, and Calvin Harrison thought he'd been bowled there. He did try and drive this one aggressively down the ground and completely missed it. The ball just turned away from him.
Even 10 and over from here, Dave, only gets them just into the 3 figures.
Harrison pushes his second delivery back to Danny Briggs. Lyndon James has 9 from 15. Briggs from the broad end, the pavilion end, and Calvin Harrison gets a single. He's scuttled down to the far end quickly, but there's only going to be one there. 47 for 7. Might just be a little bit of irony in the applause for the 50 if and when they get there.
I wonder when the last time there was anything other than a single.
Next ball is pushed into the offside, and they've got to be quick here, and they will be quick. Get the single. 48 for 7. Yes, that early Joe Clark boundary. In fact, it was right at the end of the first over, wasn't it? It took the score from 2 to 6 at the end of the first over. An edge from Clark that flew through, I think I said at the time, 3rd or 4th slip if there had been one, and down to third man for a single. There's another single to Lyndon James. 49 for 7. That's extraordinary. There can't have been too many T20 innings if it stays like this where there's only been one boundary. Final ball of the 15th. Danny Briggs doing a great job again. Attempted reverse, he's missed it, Lyndon James. Chris Benjamin's whipped off the bail and knows it's not out, so leaves the ball there for the umpire to come in and collect it. Still haven't got 50 on the board. There's 5 overs to go. I did say it was a little unusual, I guess, for you to commentate on 5 overs without a boundary. I've managed to do it as well. Over the last 5 overs, Notts have just got deeper and deeper into a hole, and you struggle to see really how they're going to get out of this. 49 for 7 with Lyndon James on there. Calvin Harrison's on strike, and only Stone and Faruqi to come. Good luck, Colin Frey.
Yes, if this is going to be, well, I mean, it's hard to see anyway that Notts can get this competitive. As I say, even scoring at 10 and over from here now doesn't get them to 3 figures, and they've shown precious little sign of being able to do that so far. And it's Jake Lintop to continue, and he's bowling to Calvin Harrison, who then just plays him out into cover, and there is a dot ball. Dots and ones as long back as I can remember. Not scampering 2s or anything like that. Here's Lintop, that's wide outside the off stump, but he's flashed at it. Harrison, he's taken. It was a long way wide. His bat was almost flat as he reached out to try and get it, and he's topped edge it straight into the wicket-keeper's gloves, and Harrison is gone for 3 and Notts are 49 for 8. Right at the start of the 16th over. It's another wicket for Lintott, and Harrison looks skywards before trudging back towards a despondent dugout underneath that scoreboard at the far end, and Ollie Stone comes out into the middle.
Sometimes you make your own luck, don't you? And when things aren't going right for you as a team, it just seeps all the way down the order. That couldn't have been any further away from the stumps there, really, for Lintott. Clearly Calvin Harrison, who can put bat to ball, thought it was a scoring opportunity. He could only just reach it with the very, very toe of the bat. Just grazed it, and good catch from Benjamin standing up. Just waiting for the umpire to spread his arms and call it a wide, because it would have been a wide. Saying he could only just reach it. That's what he did. He only just reached it, but nicked it. 49 for 8 is Ollie Stone. One thing we might be able to look forward to is a career best for Fazal Haq Faruqi if and when he gets in. Because like I say, his 85th match, and he's got a career best of 4.
An afternoon to forget for the Notts Outlaws. Here's Lintott into Ollie Stone, who's just carving this one away. To ironic cheers, because Notts have got the 50 up. And the crowd around Trent Bridge just looking for something to cheer. A single to bring up 50. They've even got the flamethrowers working. 50 for 8. And we're halfway through the 16th over. Lyndon James on to strike as Lintott bowls to him. He has a swipe at this one, but again doesn't really get hold of it. And it trundles all the way up towards Long On and Sam Hain. And Ollie Stone back to face Lintott once more. Moeen Ali still standing up at first slip, but that's down the leg side, and a bit of a full toss helped on its way down that leg side. But again, there's a fielder down at deep, almost fine leg. And there's just a single once more. One ball to come over number 16. Lyndon James faces it and plays it straight back to the bowler, and Lintott finishes with 2 for 17 from his 4 overs, and it's 52 for 8 at the end of the 16th.
One or two people understandably getting in touch. T says tell them never ever 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 to wear red again. I'm not sure it's the shirts, T. Simon Trafford, the photographer here at Trent Bridge, do we call this a binary innings? As Colin said, they're only scoring in ones. Steve asking again what's the record low score. I think we've been
91
a couple of times. As you can expect, there's a lot of people a little disgruntled with what they're listening to and seeing.
Jacob Bethel from the broad end, and this is turned off his pads, or just flicked off his pads really, by Ollie Stone. And Zach Fuchs comes in to do the fielding. Another single. 53 for 8. If any of these batsmen are able to hit a boundary, you sense that we're going to hear a hugely ironic cheer. And this is Ollie Stone trying to do that. He's driven it down the ground and he's got one bounce 4 up to the pavilion, and it is for it's Lyndon James actually, who's danced down the pitch and finally got hold of one, and Notts get 4 runs. The second boundary of the innings in the 17th over of it, and it takes the total on to 57 for 8.
Well, Adam Hassel back in the Radio Nottingham studios is putting together a highlights package of this innings. I think that'll feature.
Here is Bethel once again, and this time it's a bottom edge, which ends up going down to third man up inside the circle. Danny Briggs fields, no run. Here's Bethel once more into Lyndon James. He's moved on to 15, but he's chopped this one straight to cover. 1 or 2 in the crowd may have thought that was another wicket, but it was a bump ball into the ground and then straight up to the fielder. Dot ball though. Bethel in again. This is skied by Lyndon James. A couple of fielders running in to take it, and it's pouched comfortably again. Plenty of time for the fielder out at deep mid-wicket to take it, and James is gone. It's Mousley who takes yet another catch. James gone for 15 and Notts 57 for 9.
Not sure if the scoreboard operator is just picking Mousley out at random here, because he's taken 3 catches and they've been in all in different segments of the ground, haven't they? It is Dan Mousley out there. Safe pair of hands, just happens to be in the right spot at the right time as Lyndon James went trying to seek the first maximum of the innings, the first 6. Now then, here is Fazal Haq Faruqi. Technically, he made his debut for Notts on Friday, but we didn't see him. He didn't get on the field with Notts batting first, 175 for 5 when the rains came. So this is the first opportunity to see him. Was joint top wicket taker in the recent T20 World Cup with 17. He's not a tall man.
Notts are going to need his prowess with the ball.
Well, like I say, there is a potential career best not too far away here. 85 T20 matches, 22 innings I think it is, and a best of 4 in those 22 innings. Ollie Stone's just had a word with him. Good luck, do you reckon?
Probably. Nothing to lose, mate.
3 overs and a ball left in the innings.
57 for 9. Jacob Bethel, that was his first wicket. 1 for 10. It's only his second over. And Notts 57 for 9. Faruqi defends this away. And gets some applause from the crowd. End of the 17th over. And it's 57 for 9. And Trent Bridge on the tannoy system, just trying to get a little bit of happiness going around the ground, generate a little bit of atmosphere, because the cricket hasn't so far. And Moeen Ali, who has only bowled 1 over so far, took a wicket, conceded only 2 runs, is back in to try and polish off the Notts innings. Ollie Stone faces him and just defends him back down the pitch for the first ball of the 18th over. I struggle to see that lowest score of 91 being topped, and indeed this is edged and caught at third as Ollie Stone comes down the pitch to Moeen Ali, edges it right up in the air, and it's another comfortable catch for Briggs. It's a carbon copy of the wicket that Jack Haynes fell to, and Notts are all out for 57 as Ollie Stone goes for 3. Moeen Ali gets his second wicket, and it's another catch for Briggs on the circle at third. And again, just like all of the catches pretty much that they've taken, with one exception that was almost juggled. I think it was the one that dismissed Ben Slater very early on, when it was a second attempt catch. Every other one of them has been very, very comfortable, easily pouched, most of them just dollied up to the fielders. And we don't even get Fazal Haq Faruqi's top score. He faced 1 ball and ends up not out on 0, and Notts all out for 57 of 17.2 overs. And Dave, that was shambolic.
It was indeed, and the crowd certainly let them know collectively what they thought of it. There was a very loud boo when the final whistle went. That wasn't a reflection on Ollie Stone like the 2 or 3 before him. He was just trying to get on with it and try and turn an impossible situation into something that had a little bit of gloss on it towards the end, but the damage was done very early on. It's really hard to apportion individual blame. It was one of those scenarios where a wicket brought another wicket, and they just kept going. They got off to a wretched start, and once you try and repair the damage from then and take a risk too many, They just got into, well, it's like dominoes, wasn't it? There was no partnerships of note, no scores of note. Lyndon James 15, Jack Haynes 13, the only two to reach double figures. They do look a side that could well go all the way this year. They've only won it once before, and that's not being wise after the event. They do look a strong side, but crikey, Notts helped them a little bit. There were some catches straight to the fielders in the deep, but panic set in. That was half the trouble. You just needed, okay, Joe Clark's gone, let's rebuild here. But the rebuilding didn't bring any runs, and it just kept bringing more and more wickets, and collectively that's an absolute shocker. And it's the final home game of the campaign. I think some of the fans will be saying thank goodness for that, and maybe even the players are thinking, well, at least we can go on the road and maybe hide a little bit now. But you were doing all the sums, you were trying to work out if Northants could beat Durham, if Worcestershire could beat Lancashire, if etc, is there a way that Notts could get through? I think that's
not playing like that.
No, that's a sample of what we saw in the first 5 games, and sadly there's just not enough players in the side that can clear the ropes. There's not enough T20 nous out there, either with bat or ball, that's going to bring enough victories for Notts to get out the group. And it's looked that way for a long time, and now it's almost a mathematical certainty that they're going to achieve their lowest finish in the North Group. They've never finished below 5th since 2010, when they had a bit of a reshuffle and they took Notts away from, well, they took the 2 groups. There were 3 before, and Notts have pretty much got out of the group almost every year since 2010, but they're not going to do it this time. Absolute shocker, all out for 57.
And in the previous, 21 years, I think this is the 22nd year of the T20, Notts' lowest score before today was 91. And today, they're all out for 57. We'll be back to see if Notts bowlers can pull off the miracle. But it seems very, very unlikely that Notts have any chance of winning here this afternoon. We'll see if they can in a few minutes, but in the meantime, I will hand you back to Adam Hassel. surprise of the entire afternoon from a Nottinghamshire perspective so far. If you are just joining us, Notts, whose players are in a huddle at the moment, just at the edge of the outfield, waiting for the Birmingham opening batsmen to make their way out. They're just emerging down the pavilion steps. Notts all out for 57. Ben Martindale for 3. Ben Slater next ball for 0. Joe Clark for 5. All of those out with the total on 9. So they fell to 9 for 3, and that was in the 4th over by the time Clark had gone. Matt Montgomery given LBW for 3. Tom Moores looping one up to Sam Hain for 6. Jack Haynes, again another dolly of a catch for Danny Briggs at third man as he edged one. Liam Patterson-White caught having skied one up in the air to Dan Mousley. Calvin Harrison played at a very wide one and just got the thinnest of edges through to the wicket-keeper standing up. He was gone for 3. Lyndon James for 15, and Ollie Stone right at the end for 3. Again in a carbon copy of the catch for Danny Briggs that did for Jack Haynes earlier. Comfortable catch for Briggs again to bring down the curtain on an innings which will be remembered for all the wrong reasons. It'll go down in the statistics and the historical stats for all the wrong reasons for Notts. By far and away their lowest total ever in T20, and it gives the bowlers very little chance of trying to save anything here, but that's exactly what they're going to try to do. And it's Fazal Haq Farooqi who is going to open the bowling for Notts from the Radcliffe Road end, and immediately bowls a wide down the leg side, which is actually well taken by Moores, diving away down that leg side to take it, but not the start that Fazal Haq Farooqi would have wanted.
No, it's a good job that Notts have got lots of runs to play with, isn't it? But begin with a big wide. The Bears bowlers as well, you have to say they were terrific. 7 of them used, they all got wickets. Moeen Ali 2 for 2, George Garton 2 for 6, Jake Lintott 2 for 17, the other 4 each got 1 wicket.
Here's Fazal Haq in again, and this is defended back down the pitch. There might even have been a suggestion, 1 or 2 oohs in the crowd as Farooqi got his hand to it. I think it was defended into the pitch and then reared back up again. I don't think it would have been a catch, but it was a decent stop nonetheless by the bowler. Off his first genuine delivery after the wide to open up.
Somebody asked me if there was a chance that Notts could be asked to follow on.
Gallows humour can sometimes be the best, can't it? Here's Farooqi in again, and this is dabbed away by Rob Yates out to point, and Jack Haynes does the fielding. There's no run. Yates and Ed Barnard, the opening batsman for Birmingham.
It's had quite a few weeks. Fazal Haq Farooqi obviously signing for Notts, knowing he was coming here after the World Cup, and then I'm sure even the most ardent and passionate Afghanistan supporter didn't really expect their side to reach the semi-finals of the World T20. He finished as joint wicket taker in the competition with India's Arshdeep Singh. Had a terrific tournament.
And now here he is bowling at Trent Bridge, running away from us. That is a high full toss, which is almost dragged onto the stumps by Yates. They've ended up going through for a single as it squirmed out on the onside in the end. That was pretty high from Farooqi, and Yates will certainly feel he's missed out, but he was almost out from it.
Yeah, you've got to imagine there'll be a few nerves there as well. As we say, he's an experienced international cricketer. He's played in front of crowds far in excess of this in his time, but it's still got to be a little different. He's come to a new country, playing for a new side. Focus on him, take the first over.
And here he is once again, now bowling to Barnard, who strokes this away for 4 through the covers. A shot such as we didn't see in the entire Notts innings. It's just caressed away, almost timed away for a boundary, almost from the moment it left his bat. Forward to Ed Barnard, who's off the mark for the first ball he's faced.
There's no wonder they look on with a little bit of an expression of puzzlement, the Worcestershire supporters, because Ed Barnard here is another former Worcestershire player. Still Moeen Ali, of course, to come.
Here's Faruqi again, and this is just steered by Barnard down to third, and there's no run. So just on the edge of the circle. Ben Slater does the fielding for Notts, and it's 6 without loss for Birmingham.
We were talking about Moeen Ali's bright footwear a little earlier. Ben Martindale, who's at point, he's got the bright steward's orange cricket shoes, cricket boots on as well.
At least both of these are orange.
Yes, yeah.
Like Moeen Ali, different colours on each foot. Here's Faruqi, that's miles wide outside the off stump. He swish at it from Barnard but couldn't reach it.
Again, gallows humour, Colin. You have to look at the Duckworth Lewis on the board, and at the end of this over, the Bears to be ahead would need to have more than 2 runs.
Yeah. 7 without loss. I think the weather is contrary to the forecast. I don't think that's going to help Notts either. That's not going to ride into their rescue before the 5 over mark is reached. Here's Faruqi again, and this is hit hard into the ground by Barnard and away for 4 through covers again. 2 boundaries off the first over, which is as many as Notts managed in their entire innings, and Birmingham, chasing only 58 to win, are 11 without loss at the end of the first over.
Yes, no fuss there at all from Ed Barnard, who's a really high quality player. Stroke this away through the offside. I guess that could be a cunning plan from Notts to keep bowling wide. You've got to have 5 overs of this innings to constitute a game. If they do see the dark clouds coming, and we can't, just keep bowling wide until they get here.
But not more than 58 of them.
That's right. There's a man who's got wheels, as they say, bowls very, very quickly indeed. Ollie Stone. Let's see what he can do.
Stone is coming into bowl 2. Yates over the wicket. Yates, big swing and a miss, and it goes through to Tom Moores behind the stumps.
That was a little baseball-y, that, wasn't it? It was a very, very quick delivery, and Rob Yates looked to tee off against him but missed it. It was through into the keeper's gloves. What do you call it in backstop? The catcher. In the catcher. In baseball, the catcher. Through into the
catcher's mitt. There's Ollie Stone once more. Blonde-haired figure, bounces one, and it's pulled away for 6. It was fairly flat hit by Yates. He went for the short pitch delivery, did Ollie Stone, and Yates was on it in a flash and just steered it round the corner. Calvin Harrison, the closest fielder to it, but probably 10 yards away at least by the time it crossed the rope at around about waist height-ish, maybe a bit above that. First 6 we've seen in the afternoon. 17 for no wicket.
One shrewd observer in the interval told me this would be done in 5.5 overs.
Well, they're certainly getting on with it. They're not hanging around, are they? Here's Stone again into Yates. Yates tries to pull it around onto the leg side again, but he's wrapped on the pad this time and squirts out towards cover and Jack Haynes. No run, dot ball. 17 for no wicket. 1.5 overs gone. Need 41 more to win, Birmingham. All 10 wickets in hand. Here's Stone. Once again into Yates, who just tucks this one off his hip towards mid-wicket. Take a single. And as comfortable an afternoon as you could ever wish for from a Birmingham perspective just continues as they carry on their serene way to another couple of points. A 7th win in a row. I think you were saying 6 wins in a row for Birmingham as they come into this game. Notts 4 games to come after this, and any faint hopes they had of qualifying are disappearing fast. Here's Stone, and down the pitch comes Barnard and gets an inside edge which beats the stumps, then beats the wicketkeeper and runs away for 4. Well, that's just what they need, Birmingham. There's a little bit of luck.
When things are going for you, absolutely make the most of it, because sport being what it is, on another day you'll be the side that gets none whatsoever. You'll inside edge it onto your stumps. So when you do get the boundaries, make the most of it. What's that, 3 4s and a 6 already?
Yeah, 22 for no wicket. Stone in again to Ed Barnard, who's just letting this go through because it's a wide.
And already that's more extras than were in the Notts innings. There are only 2 extras, 2 leg byes. Notts have bowled 3 wides already.
When you're only defending a total of 57. Sorry tale here this afternoon. Trent Bridge. Here's Stone. Last ball of the second over. Barnard moves around in his crease to try and scoop one, gets nothing on it, and it goes through to Tom Moores, and that's the end of the over. And it's 23 without loss after 2 overs. They're almost, not quite, but they're almost halfway already.
Yeah, Notts reached 23 in their 8th over. Already in a pickle by then. 35 more required. Fazal Haq Faruqi is going to get 2nd over in a row from this Radcliffe Road end. First one went for 11.
It's Faruqi to the left-handed Yates, who's just playing this pleasantly up towards mid-off, and the shy at the stumps from Ollie Stone misses. They scampered through for a single. No real need for Birmingham to be scampering singles, but they decided they were going to take on Ollie Stone's arm. And got there 1. Barnard is on 12. Yates has 9. It's 24 for no wicket. Lovely blue sky up above at the moment. Wispy white clouds. As this next one is skied up in the air, and Faruqi might have his first Notts wicket here, and he has, as the catch is pouched by the captain, Joe Clark, and Barnard, who was already turned and walking back to the pavilion, has to go for 12. Faruqi gets a wicket, and in the 3rd over Birmingham are 24 for 1.
Yeah, I wondered if you'd spotted that as well. As soon as he played the shot, he tucked his bat under his arm, and was he didn't see the catch being taken, because, as you say, he was 4 or 5 paces already back towards the dugout. Joe Clark judged it nicely, and a wicket for Faruqi. Dan Mousley coming in at 3, left-hander. So a little bit of something for the Notts supporters to enjoy. As Colin said, there's been quite a bit of gallows humour, plenty of you getting in touch, and many Notts supporters will be very disappointed. Have thought they'd reach rock bottom with those 5 consecutive defeats. It just shows there's always something else around the corner. Before this afternoon, Notts had won 1 of 9 county championship matches this season, and 2 of 9 blast matches, 3 wins out of 18. It's certainly going to be 3 out of 19 in the next 15-20 minutes at most, you'd imagine. Mousley, who took 3 catches earlier and picked up a wicket on 2 overs, 1 for 4, so he's had a good day already. Can he just finish it off now with a nice little 15 or so not out as the Bears ease to victory? 24 for 1. He needs 34 more to win. Here's Faruqi, and this is turned off his hips by the new batsman. Go through for a single. Fazal Haq Faruqi will be happy at least that he's had the ball in his hand for Notts after the rain prevented that from happening on Friday night, and he's got a wicket to boot. Not much
else for Notts to smile about this afternoon. Here's Faruqi in again to Yates, and this is slightly edged to mid-wicket. Good stop.
Yeah, Faruqi's come in to replace Ben Lister, the New Zealander who's now gone home. He played 8 games, took 8 wickets at an average of 26 apiece, best of 3 for 20. Decent enough economy rate, 7.8 apiece. Did all right with that. Never really threatening to look like Afridi did last year. There was occasions where Afridi looked like he was going to blow a side away. We didn't really see that with Lister.
Like he did against Birmingham here last year. This next one is just played uppishly, but square enough by Yates to avoid the hands of Jack Haynes, who, when it first left the bat, seemed to be shaping up for a catch. I think he thought it was coming in his direction as well, but it ended up going squarer, and they've gone through for a single. Inspects the edge of his bat.
Notts haven't played Dane Patterson in this year's competition, but they have used Will Young. Played 6 matches, but only an average of 9 in this year's competition and a top score of 25. Didn't really get going at all.
Here's Faruqi once more to Mousley, and this is clipped away nicely. It was drifting down leg side, and it's just played off his pads and away past the man up inside the circle at fine leg, who was Ben Slater, and away for 4. Another boundary. And although the scoreboards have disappeared quickly, I think that's 30 for 1 at the end of 3 overs.
Yes, it's very prone to doing that. Very infuriating when you're trying to let everybody know the score. It'll be back there in a moment. One thing we can say is it is 30 for 1, is that we're not going to be going for much longer, I don't think. Already past halfway. Another 28 required. Matthew Montgomery is going to get the 4th over. Last few matches he's bowled the first over of the innings for the Outlaws, but he comes on for the 4th. He's got 3 wickets in this year's competition at 44 apiece.
Well, Birmingham spinners certainly got the job done for them. Yates is backing away from this and just turns it away through covers for 4. The despairing dive was from Ben Martindale, who couldn't get near it, and it's away for another 4, and it was just timed beautifully, and that's the sort of thing that Notts were unable to do against any of the Birmingham spinners throughout the innings. 34 for 1. Yates on to 14, and this next one is launched away onto the onside this time for a 1 bounce 4 in front of the Smith-Cooper stand. It's another 4, and Birmingham making short work of it now. 38 for 1. They need 20 more.
Yeah, Notts have got obviously the 2 allowed out, one at deep mid wicket, one at long off. It's just, I mean, it's the game has gone.
Yeah, it's academic, isn't it?
Yeah.
This next one from Montgomery is just turned through covers again, eased away, chases on though, and won this time by Ben Martindale, who slides to stop it going for 4. And there's a couple of runs, which I think is probably the first 2 we've seen run all afternoon.
Yeah. I was going to say there's an argument for bringing them all inside the ring, but whichever way you do it.
Next one is Yorker length from Montgomery. It's a good one. It's dug out by Yates. He's on 20. It's 40 for 1. And Birmingham need another 18. There's Montgomery again, and Yates has hammered this one away, and it evades Joe Clark, who was on the edge of the circle at mid-on. And once it's beaten him, it races away in between, crosses the boundary, sort of in between the pavilion and the scoreboard at the far end. It's another 4, another boundary. Yates on to 24. Birmingham 44 for 1. Here's Montgomery again, and this is defended back down the pitch. That's the end of 4 overs. 44 for 1.
I feel a little bit for Joe Clark. He's been left almost a shell of the side that he began the competition with. Hoping to have Alex Hales, hoping to have perhaps a little bit more of Ben Duckett if England had come home earlier from the World T20. There's a lot of hope and optimism at the start of the campaign, but they really just didn't put enough runs on the board. Just one half century from Alex Hales while he was here. Clark's only half century came on Friday evening after Hales had gone, though he did have a couple of 40s before then. Generally, Notts just haven't found, I mean, this evening or this afternoon we haven't seen them hitting 4s, but in comparison to other sides they've just not been clearing the ropes, and you do need a strong middle order, don't you? Just somebody to go out there 16th, 17th, 18th over and hit 12 or 18 very quickly off 3 or 4 balls.
Here's Faruqi to continue, and this is just paddled away beautifully by Mousley. Away down in front of the Hound Road stand, in between a couple of fielders. I think Faruqi just took a little bit of pace off it, and Mousley waited and then just steered it through for another 4, and it's 48 for 1. 10 needed from 95 balls. So Birmingham comfortably getting the job done. More big damage to any faint hopes that Notts had of potentially maybe clawing their way up the table and into 4th place and a qualification spot. It's forlorn, you would think, after the damage that will be done to their net run rate as much as anything else this afternoon. Will effectively give them another point to have to try and make up somewhere along the line. But they look a side a long way short of being able to win their last 4 games based on this afternoon. Here's Faruqi, this is down the leg side, it's going to be another wide.
See, things like that lack of discipline as well, it just makes it feel worse somehow. As I say, he's a young man, he's making his debut for Notts, but the last thing you want to do is make it look even worse. Sloppy cricket.
Yeah, you want, at the very least, you want everything tight, don't you?
And you need 58, but make them work hard for the 58, don't give them runs.
Here's Faruqi again, he's dropped this one in short, it's dabbed down just behind square on the offside for a dot ball as Calvin Harrison comes into field. And it's 49 for 1. Dave referred to the Duckworth-Lewis score a little bit earlier. On Duckworth-Lewis at the end of this over, they need to be on 13 to be ahead.
Yes, another 3 balls and we've got a game. Where's the rain? Where's the rain?
49 for 1. Here's Faruqi once more. This is played away through mid-wicket for a single. Fielding's done on the boundary by Haynes. And that is the 50 up. A ripple of applause around Trent Bridge.
Yes, it's in comparison to when Notts reached their 50.
Yes, which was in the 16th over.
There was applause, but it was tinged with a lot of laughing and a lot of sarcasm.
Yep. 8 more to win, 50 for 1. 2 balls to come in this Fazal Haq Faruqi over. It's the 5th over. And this is a bouncer which is pulled away for 6 into the Hound Road stand. Just helped on its way. Yates getting his 2nd 6 of his innings so far. They're the only ones we've seen all afternoon. And it's 56 for 1. And that brings them within 2 of victory.
You've got to laugh, haven't you, I suppose? Otherwise you just sit down and cry.
Seems to be a problem with the ball as it's been sent back. Ben Slater is just paying some attention to it.
As it went rattling into those seats in the lower area of the Hound Road stand. Joe Clark's just lobbed it to the umpire just to check on it.
Yeah, it'll be alright. Only need it for 1 more ball potentially.
Yep.
Here's Faruqi into Yates, who's on 30, and Yates crunches this away, but it's going to go straight along the ground to Jack Haynes at mid-wicket, and that brings the scores level at 57 for 1. And that's the end of the 5th over. Normally at this stage we would hand over commentary. So do you want the honour, Dave?
Well, It's always a privilege sitting here and an honour to be able to bring our listeners and viewers inside Trent Bridge and let them know what's going off and our thoughts and whatever, but we have to call it as we see it, and this has been an absolute shocker from Notts. Was mentioned it earlier, just like dominoes, wasn't it? It didn't really see signs of any stability anywhere. The top partnership was 12, that was in the middle of the innings, Jack Haynes and Lyndon James. Sense Notts were always going to be way below par even when they were together, just trying to do something in the middle overs to get Notts from 24 for 5 to 36 for 6. It's going to be Calvin Harrison to bowl potentially what is the final ball to Rob Yates, and Yates has a tentative little push at that one outside the off stump, goes through to Tom Moores. Harrison with a really good delivery to start with, but only one required. Scores a level, and this time it's crunched away through extra cover, and the Bears have won by 9 wickets after 5.2 overs. And again, there's boos all around Trent Bridge as the table toppers collect their 2 points, and Notts can really head off and look to rebuild before their next fixture at Durham on Friday. They've got a lot of work, a lot of thought, a lot of thinking to do this week, and potentially people will be doing the maths and maybe even be able to work out a scenario where Notts could get through in the group. But save yourself a bit of time, folks. There is absolutely no chance that they're going to be able to get through, playing as they are in this season's competition. They were bowled out for 57 today in 17.2 overs, and just showing what can be done if you get off to a decent start. The Bears have romped a victory in only 5.2 overs, 61 for 1, and I was expecting rather more boos actually. I think there's just stunned silence as people are making their way out of the ground. They're almost reluctantly just taking it and accepting it, Colin. It's been a horror show from Notts, and it's a sad way, I guess, to commemorate 10 years of the sponsorship, because that was it's a special kit. Yeah, it's a big thing if you can get a sponsor willing to be with you for 10 years and invest the money that they have done. Obviously, it's a scenario that suits both parties. Just a real shame that their worst performance in the history of the T20 domestic competition has coincided on the day that they wear a special kit to commemorate the occasion. Rainbow Laces Day as well, and there's people here promoting that fine charity as well. It's just a real old shame that Notts have found themselves up against a side that are playing really good cricket, and Notts haven't been able to compete with them. No, nowhere near it, and all over in an hour and a half or so, hour and 40 minutes including the interval. And people have come out and spent their money for an afternoon at the cricket and are going home a couple of hours earlier than they would have expected after what has been an absolute shocker of an afternoon from a Nottinghamshire perspective. Thanks to Dave Bracegirdle. Dave and I will be back at Durham on Friday evening. That's Notts' next game in the competition. Of course, this also was the last home game of Notts in the T20 Blast this season. 4 away games to come now. Durham, Leicestershire, Lancashire, and then they finish off at Yorkshire, and they're going to have to play an awful lot better to win any of those games, never mind the all 4 that they're going to need really to have any sort of hope of qualifying for the last 8 of the competition and finishing in the top 4. That seems a long way off when you reflect on what's happened here this afternoon. It has been an afternoon to forget for Nottinghamshire. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Bowled out for 57. It was an afternoon dominated by spin, but by the Birmingham spinners. But even before that, you cast your mind back to the quick bowlers that opened the innings for Birmingham. George Garton bowled a double wicket maiden, and then you see Notts try and open with some pace, but also get their spinners on in those first 5 or 6 overs, as Birmingham ate up the runs and the boundaries started coming and the strokes were flowing and the cover drives that Notts could never manage to get away, all flowing in those 5 overs that Birmingham needed
to get their required 58. They finish on 61 for 1 in 5.2 overs. It is an afternoon that will go down in history for Nottinghamshire, but for all the wrong reasons. Their lowest score by a long way. Previous today it was 91. Today they've been bowled out for 57 in 17.2 overs and then beaten by Birmingham, who win by 9 wickets, knocking off the runs in just 5.2 overs. From Trent Bridge, I would like to say good afternoon to you. Enjoy the sunshine. It's about the only thing that has been good this afternoon. We'll hand you back to Adam Hassel.
Okay, so it is the Bears that take that victory by 9 wickets. Obviously a disappointing day for the Outlaws here at Trent Bridge in what has been a frustrating campaign so far, but there are still 4 games left in this Vitality Blast campaign for the Outlaws to try and get a couple of victories and maybe some momentum as well. But from here at Trent Bridge, it is the Bears that take the victory. They go to 16 points, and like I say, it's 4 away games now for the Outlaws. But from everybody here at Trent Bridge Live, thank you very much for your company over the Vitality Blast campaign so far. We'll be back when the Metro Bank 50 over competition kicks in. But from everybody at Trent Bridge here, it's a very good afternoon.